Below is your slow-paced, descriptive, simple English story, between 1700 and 1900 words approximately, 1810 words. No headings added, only the story. The evening lights shimmered softly across the surface of the Hollywood Hills, spreading out like a calm blanket of gold over the busy city. Far below, the America's Got Talent studio buzzed with excitement and voices, but inside one small waiting room, everything felt unusually quiet. A 12-year-old Filipino boy named Eli sat on a long wooden bench, his feet barely touching the floor, his hands gently holding a pair of shiny black shoes. His dark eyes reflected a mix of hope, fear, and wonder, like he was standing between a dream and the unknown. Beside him, his mother softly fixed the white sequins on his jacket. They sparkled like tiny stars, catching the light every time she moved her fingers. She had spent 3 nights sewing the outfit by hand because they couldn't buy a costume. But she didn't mind. She wanted her son to shine. "You look handsome, Anik," she whispered with a warm smile. "Just breathe. You have worked so hard for this." Eli nodded, but he didn't speak. His throat felt tight. He had sung in small places before, church events, school programs, neighborhood gatherings, but this was different. This was the biggest stage in the world. And he wasn't just planning to sing. He wanted to bring back something people thought was gone forever. Michael Jackson. For years, he had studied the king of pop's moves and voice. Not to copy him, but because something about the music felt like home. The way the melodies rose and fell like waves. The way the rhythms made his heart beat faster. The way the lyrics told stories that felt bigger than life. But singing Michael Jackson in front of millions felt impossible. What if they didn't like him? What if he forgot the words? What if the judges thought he was too young to try such a big song? His stomach twisted. From the hallway came distant laughter and footsteps. Then the low hum of the AGT stage opening for the next performer. His mother placed her hand over his. "You do not need to be Michael Jackson," she said gently. "Just be Eli. That is enough." He looked at her, searching her face. "But, what if I mess up? Then you stand up again. That is life. And I will still be proud." Her smile calmed him. Not completely, but enough to breathe again. A stage assistant with a clipboard walked into the room and nodded. "Eli Mateo. You're next. Please follow me." Eli stood slowly. His legs felt shaky, like they were made of soft rubber. He slipped into his black shoes, tightened the laces, and took one last deep breath before stepping into the bright hallway. His mother followed behind him but stopped at the backstage curtain. "This is your moment," she whispered. "Go. Shine." He stepped forward, alone now, and the curtain felt closed behind him. The backstage area glowed with deep blue lights. Technicians moved around, pulling cables and checking microphones. Far ahead, the stage opened up into a wide circle of white light. Eli's heart thumped louder. Every step felt heavier. He reached the mark where performers stood before entering. The stage manager bent down and clipped a tiny microphone to his shirt collar. "You okay, buddy?" the man asked. Eli nodded even though he was not sure. "Good. Just walk out there when the doors open. And have fun. That's the most important part." Fun. Eli wasn't sure fun was possible at a moment like this, but he appreciated the encouragement. The doors parted. A flood of light washed over him. And then he heard the audience. Thousands of voices. A warm, rolling wave of cheers and murmurs. It felt like standing in front of the ocean. He walked into it. The stage sparkled under his feet. Above him hung long rays of white and blue lights. The giant AGT sign glowed behind him, shining like a promise. He stopped at the microphone stand, his hands shaking slightly. On the far side of the stage sat the judges. Simon Cowell leaned back in his chair, his familiar black shirt glowing under the lights. His eyes were calm but sharp, studying every detail. Heidi Klum smiled warmly, her bright blonde hair shining like gold. Howie Mandel leaned forward with curiosity, one eyebrow raised. And Sofia Vergara clapped lightly, encouraging him before he even spoke. "What's your name?" Simon asked. Eli," he said softly. His voice cracked a little. "And how old are you, Eli?" Simon continued. 12. There was a soft "ah" from the audience. "Well, welcome to America's Got Talent," Simon said. "What will you be doing for us today?" Eli swallowed. I will sing." "Great," Howie said. "And what song?" Eli hesitated. He looked down, then lifted his eyes again. "Michael Jackson," he said in a quiet voice. The judges exchanged quick looks. Some of surprise, some of concern. "That's a big name," Simon said gently. "Are you sure?" "Yes," Eli whispered. "It's my dream." A hush fell over the entire theater. Even the audience grew quiet, as if they were holding their breath. "All right," Simon said. "Whenever you're ready." The music began, slow, soft, like the first breath of a memory. A simple piano chord, then another. Eli closed his eyes. When he opened them again, something inside him felt different. Not gone, not replaced, but settled, like he finally remembered why he was here. He sang the first note. It was small, fragile, but clear. The crowd leaned in. He sang the next line, and the next. And slowly, the sound grew. His voice carried a soft echo that sounded older than him, richer than his age should allow. It was not Michael Jackson. It was something new, something that held a trace of innocence and a trace of magic. He lifted his hand the way he had practiced for months. He stepped lightly across the stage, adding small dance moves but not too many. He wanted the song to speak first. Halfway through, his voice grew stronger, and something unexpected happened. The audience stood. A full standing ovation, while he was still singing. Heidi covered her mouth in surprise. Sophia leaned forward, her hands pressed over her heart. Howie nodded slowly, impressed. But Simon did not move. He sat perfectly still, watching with eyes that seemed to search deeper than the performance itself. Eli felt his chest tremble. Not from fear this time. From something warm, something powerful, something he did not fully understand. When he reached the final note, he held it longer than he ever had. It hung in the air like a shining thread, stretching gently across the theater. Then the music faded. Silence. A beautiful, glowing silence. Then the room exploded with cheers. The audience roared, clapping loudly, whistling, shouting his name. Some even placed their hands over their hearts. Many smiled through tears. Eli stood still, breathless, overwhelmed. He had never seen so many people stand for him. He felt like he was floating. Heidi spoke first. "Eli, that was beautiful. You have such a special voice. I loved every second." Howie nodded. "You carried so much emotion. And for 12 years old. Incredible." Sophia smiled brightly. "I felt goosebumps. You made everyone here feel something. That is not easy." Then Simon leaned forward, placing his elbows on the desk. "Eli, you know, I've heard many Michael Jackson tributes in my life. Thousands, maybe." He paused, letting the room settle. "But what you just did was different. You didn't copy him. You honored him. And you did it with your own soul." Eli felt tears rising in his eyes. Simon continued, his voice softer now. "I want you to remember something. When you stepped out here, you were scared. But you sang anyway. That tells me something important. It tells me you belong on this stage." He stood. And then he slammed his hand down on the golden buzzer. The sound burst through the theater like a thunderclap. Golden confetti shot into the air and rained down on Eli in shimmering waves. The floor sparkled. The lights turned warm and glowing. The crowd screamed with joy. Eli gasped, covering his face with both hands as tears streamed down. His legs shook so hard he thought he might fall. But he didn't. He stood in the middle of the golden storm, breathing in the moment he had only dreamed of. His mother rushed from backstage, tears in her eyes. She wrapped her arms around him, holding him close. "You did it, Anik," she whispered. "You really did it." He cried into her shoulder, overwhelmed with joy, relief, and disbelief. Simon walked onto the stage and gave the boy a gentle pat on the back. "You've got something special, Eli. Don't ever lose it." Eli nodded, still crying, still shaking. He wanted to say thank you, but the words couldn't come out. Instead, he smiled, a wide, trembling smile, and Simon understood. The golden confetti continued to fall until it covered the stage like a bright, warm ocean. In that moment, the world felt small, peaceful, and perfect. After the excitement faded and the stage was reset, Eli and his mother sat in a quiet hallway backstage again. But now, instead of fear, the room was filled with soft laughter. His mother gently brushed confetti from his hair. "I told you," she whispered. "Just be Eli." He leaned against her shoulder. "Mama, I didn't feel alone up there." She kissed the top of his head. "Because you weren't." They sat quietly for a while, listening to the muffled sounds of the show continuing in the distance. The lights were dim, the room was warm, and for the first time all day, Eli felt calm. He thought about all the long nights practicing in their small apartment. The times he cried because he thought he wasn't good enough. The times his mother encouraged him even when she was tired. The times he doubted himself. All of it had led to this moment. A moment covered in gold. When they finally stood to leave, a stagehand approached and handed Eli a small envelope. "This is for the Golden Buzzer winners," he explained. "Congratulations, kid." Eli opened it. Inside was a simple message. "Believe in your gift." It brought back something the world missed. He held the note close to his chest. He didn't need anything more. As they walked out of the studio, the evening air greeted them softly. The city lights shimmered again, just as they had before. But this time, the world felt different. Bigger, brighter, kinder. Eli looked up at the sky, and for a moment, he imagined golden confetti falling from the stars. Maybe he had brought back a piece of Michael Jackson. But more importantly, he had discovered his own light. And it was only the beginning.